My name is Vivian, 28 years old, and I'm standing in the corner of my parents' lavishly decorated backyard, watching everyone toast to my brother's engagement. James has always been the golden child, and Amanda seems perfect on paper. If only they knew what I saw last week. The champagne tastes bitter as I swallow the truth that could shatter everything. I never wanted this power. Before we dive into this family drama, I'd love to know where you're watching from today. Drop your location in the comments, hit that like and subscribe button if family secrets resonate with you. Trust me, you'll want to stick around to see how this explosive situation unfolds. I grew up in the shadow of perfection. My brother James, 4 years older than me, set an impossible standard from the moment I was born. Our family photo albums tell the story better than I ever could. James holding trophies, James graduating with honors, James getting into an Ivy League school. And somewhere in the background there, I was always half smiling, never quite measuring up. Our parents, Michael and Eleanor Wright, built their world around their firstborn. Dad, a successful corporate lawyer, saw his legacy in James, who followed his footsteps into law. Mom, a former beauty queen turned philanthropist, loved planning events where James could shine. They attended every game, every competition, every milestone in his life with unwavering dedication. James scored 30 points in the game last night, Dad would announce at dinner parties, beaming with pride. James got accepted to 3 law schools, Mom would tell her friends at charity luncheons. Meanwhile, my achievements in art were treated as cute hobbies. When I got accepted to study fine arts at NYU, the conversation quickly shifted to James passing the bar exam on his first try. When I secured my job as an assistant curator at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, they nodded politely before asking James about his latest high-profile case. One memory stands out clearly from when I was 16. I had won a regional art competition and my painting was selected for a traveling exhibition. The award ceremony was scheduled the same day as one of James's college basketball games. It wasn't even a championship, just a regular season game. "We'll try to make it to your thing after the game," Mom said, not even looking up from arranging James's framed jersey in the living room display case. They never showed. I accepted my award alone, watching other parents taking photos and celebrating with their children. The most frustrating part was that James himself wasn't arrogant about any of it. He was genuinely kind, checking in on me, encouraging my art, even attending my exhibitions when our parents wouldn't. This made it impossible to hate him. Instead, my feelings twisted into a complex knot of love, resentment, and longing for the validation my parents reserved only for him. "Don't take it personally, Viv," my cousin Rachel would say. She was my confidant, the sister I never had. Aunt Eleanor and Uncle Michael are just wired that way. First child syndrome or something. Rachel understood. As the youngest of 3 girls, she knew what it felt like to be an afterthought. We bonded over being the family disappointments, even though both of us had carved out respectable lives for ourselves. Then there was Daniel, our family friend, whose parents had been close with mine since college. Daniel saw through the perfect family facade, noticing how my parents doted on James while barely acknowledging my existence. "Your brother's cool and all," Daniel told me once at a family barbecue when we were teenagers. "But your art is something special, Vivian. They don't see it yet, but others will." Over the years, I built my life away from the family spotlight. I threw myself into my career, working my way up from assistant curator to leading my own exhibitions. I dated, traveled, made friends who valued me for who I was, rather than measuring me against someone else. I limited family visits to major holidays and occasional Sunday dinners, protecting myself from the constant reminder of my second-place status. Everything changed 3 months ago at our regular monthly family dinner. James brought Amanda Phillips, a corporate event planner he'd been dating for 8 months. I'd heard about her but hadn't met her yet. She was beautiful in that effortless way, blonde hair falling in perfect waves, designer clothes that looked casual but cost more than my monthly rent. "We have an announcement," James said, standing up and holding Amanda's hand. The diamond on her finger caught the light as she smiled. "We're engaged." Mom burst into tears of joy. Dad opened his prized bottle of 30-year-old scotch. Phone calls were made, toasts were given. Future wedding plans immediately dominated all conversation. Amanda showcased her ring, describing how James had proposed on a private yacht at sunset. I hugged my brother, genuinely happy for him, despite the familiar sting of watching everyone orbit around his latest accomplishment. But when I embraced Amanda, something felt off. Her smile didn't reach her eyes when she looked at me. "I'm so looking forward to having a sister," she said, her voice honey sweet. "James has told me so much about you." Over the next few weeks, I tried connecting with my future sister-in-law. I invited her to lunch, to art exhibitions, even offered to help with wedding planning. Each time she had an excuse ready. "Raincheck, work is crazy right now." "Oh, I already made plans with your mom to look at venues." The few times we did interact, usually at family gatherings, she seemed guarded around me, though she charmed everyone else. She knew exactly what compliments would make my mother blush with pleasure, which sports topics would engage my father, which wines to bring, which stories to tell. She was perfect for this family that prized perfection. But perfection, as I've learned through years of studying art, is often an illusion crafted with careful lighting and strategic brushstrokes, and Amanda's canvas was starting to show cracks. The text came through by accident. I was at my parents' house for dinner one Saturday evening in July. Amanda had left her phone on the kitchen counter while helping Mom with dessert. A notification lit up her screen as I was setting down plates nearby. I wasn't trying to snoop, but the name caught my eye immediately: Kevin. Kevin Matthews. My ex-boyfriend from 3 years ago. We dated for 2 years before he ended things, claiming he wasn't ready for commitment. The breakup devastated me at the time. The message preview was brief, but unmistakable. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Same place." I nearly dropped the plates. Could it be a different Kevin? I told myself it must be, even as my stomach twisted with doubt. Amanda returned before I could process what I'd seen, smoothly picking up her phone and slipping it into her pocket, with a smile that suddenly seemed calculated. That night, I couldn't sleep. The coincidence seemed too strange. Kevin wasn't an uncommon name, but something about the secrecy in that same place gnawed at me. I debated calling Rachel, but decided against making accusations without proof. The next morning, Sunday, I made a decision I'm not proud of. I drove to Amanda's apartment building and waited in my car across the street. If she was meeting friends for brunch or running errands, I would leave and forget the whole thing, chalking it up to paranoia. At 10:30, Amanda emerged wearing large sunglasses and casual clothes that still somehow looked runway ready. She got into her Audi and drove off. I followed at a distance, telling myself this would be the end of it. She'd go to a coffee shop, meet a girlfriend, and I'd feel foolish for my suspicion. Instead, she drove to the Westlake Hotel downtown. I watched her hand her keys to the valet and walk inside. 20 minutes later, Kevin arrived. My Kevin. I recognized his walk, the way he ran his hand through his dark hair as he looked around before entering the hotel. My hands shook on the steering wheel. I sat there for an hour, hoping there was some explanation. Maybe they were meeting for business reasons. Kevin worked in finance, perhaps. Amanda needed advice for the wedding. But on a Sunday morning at a hotel without James. When they emerged together 2 hours later, the way his hand rested briefly on her lower back before they separated told me everything I needed to know. I ducked down in my seat as Amanda retrieved her car, leaving first. Kevin followed 15 minutes later. I drove home in a daze, pulling over twice when tears blurred my vision. The betrayal felt doubly painful, not just for my brother, but also because of my history with Kevin. Had they known each other while Kevin and I were dating? Had he left me for her? Or was this a more recent development? A twisted coincidence. The following week was agony. I carried the knowledge like a hot coal in my pocket, unsure what to do with it. I finally broke down and called Rachel. "Are you absolutely sure?" she asked after I spilled everything. "Because being the messenger here could backfire spectacularly." "I saw them with my own eyes, Rachel. They spent 2 hours in a hotel together." "That doesn't necessarily mean—" "I know what I saw." I cut her off. "The question is, what do I do now?" Rachel sighed heavily through the phone. "Honestly, get more proof before saying anything. James worships the ground she walks on, and your parents already think she hangs the moon. Without concrete evidence, it's your word against hers. And we both know whose side your parents will take." She was right, of course. I needed more than a suspicious text and a hotel meeting. So I began paying closer attention. I created a fake Instagram account to monitor Amanda's social media. Most of her posts were perfectly curated images of her life with James' wedding planning updates and professional accomplishments. But occasionally she would post a story when she was supposedly working late geolocation, betraying that she was nowhere near her office. 2 weeks after the hotel incident, I found my opportunity to confront her directly. James was out of town for a case, and Amanda was at my parents' house helping Mom with wedding invitation designs. I arrived unannounced using my spare key. Vivian. Mom looked surprised to see me. We weren't expecting you. Just thought I'd drop by, I said casually. Maybe help with wedding stuff. Amanda's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. We spent an hour reviewing invitation samples until Mom excused herself to make lunch. I saw you, I said quietly once we were alone. At the Westlake Hotel, with Kevin. Amanda's expression didn't change, but her fingers stilled on the invitation sample she'd been holding. I don't know what you're talking about. Kevin Matthews, my ex-boyfriend. Ring any bells? She laughed lightly. Oh, Kevin. Yes, we had a business meeting. He's helping me with investment options for the wedding fund James's parents generously provided. I didn't realize he was your ex. Small world. The lie rolled off her tongue so smoothly I almost doubted myself. Almost. Business meeting at a hotel on Sunday morning. The hotel has an excellent brunch spot for business discussions. She leaned forward, voice dropping. Vivian, I understand being concerned for your brother, but perhaps this is coming from somewhere else, jealousy. Perhaps James mentioned how you've struggled with his achievements overshadowing yours. My cheeks burned. This has nothing to do with... I would hate for James to think you're trying to sabotage his happiness because of your own issues. Her tone was sympathetic, but her eyes were cold, especially with unfounded accusations. Before I could respond, Mom returned with sandwiches and Amanda seamlessly shifted back into perfect future daughter-in-law mode. I left shortly after, shaking with anger and frustration. Over the next few days, I gathered more evidence. I photographed Amanda's car parked near Kevin's apartment building. I screenshot suspicious texts that appeared on her phone when she carelessly left it visible during family dinners. I even recorded a phone conversation she had in my parents' backyard when she thought everyone was inside, clearly arranging another meeting. Tomorrow at 2 same room, she had said quietly. James will be in court all afternoon. The weight of knowing was crushing me. Each family gathering became an exercise in restraint, watching Amanda play her role perfectly, while I sat on information that would devastate my brother. I began having trouble sleeping, losing focus at work. My boss noticed, suggesting I take some personal time. Whatever's going on, Vivian, it's affecting your performance, she said kindly but firmly. I needed to act. It was time to talk to James. Can we grab coffee tomorrow? I texted James one evening. Just us. It's been a while since we had sibling time. Sure thing, Viv, he responded almost immediately. Amanda's got wedding cake tastings anyway. Dodged that bullet. How about Grant's Cafe at 10? The coffee shop was quiet for a Saturday morning. James was already there when I arrived, 2 coffees waiting at a corner table, mine prepared exactly how I liked it. This thoughtfulness was so typical of him, making my task even harder. So what's up? He asked after we exchanged greetings. You seemed serious in your text. I took a deep breath. It's about Amanda. His expression changed slightly. What about her? I've noticed some things that concern me. She's been... I struggled to find the right words. I think she might not be who you think she is. James's brow furrowed. What are you talking about? I've seen her meeting someone, multiple times. A man named Kevin Matthews. Recognition flickered in his eyes. Your ex-boyfriend, Kevin? What would Amanda have to do with him? They've been meeting secretly, at hotels his apartment building. I pulled out my phone, showing him the photos I'd taken. I overheard her making arrangements on the phone, always when you're busy or away. James stared at the photos, his face hardening. Then, to my surprise, he laughed. This is what you wanted to talk about, Vivian. Amanda already told me about this. I blinked in confusion. What? She mentioned you've been acting strange around her, said you might have misinterpreted something. He pushed my phone back toward me. Kevin's company is handling our wedding investments and helping us find our first house. Amanda's been meeting with him about surprise property options for me as a wedding gift. My mouth opened and closed soundlessly. I appreciate your concern. James continued, his tone now slightly condescending. But you're seeing problems that aren't there. Amanda was worried this might be about… He hesitated. About what? I challenged, though I already knew what was coming. Well, that you might be having a hard time with all the attention on our wedding, given how you've always felt about family dynamics. He reached across the table to pat my hand. It's okay, Viv. I understand. But please don't create drama where there isn't any. She had gotten to him first, planted the seed that anything I might say was rooted in jealousy. I was speechless with the realization of how thoroughly I'd been outmaneuvered. James, she's lying to you, I said finally. They weren't business meetings. His expression closed off. Stop it, Vivian. This isn't like you. I know we've had our issues with Mom and Dad over the years, but don't drag Amanda into it. He stood up. I need to go. Take care of yourself, okay? He left me sitting there, my coffee growing cold, feeling more alone than ever. The following week, Amanda stepped up her campaign. At Sunday dinner, she subtly undermined me at every turn. Vivian, that gallery showing you mentioned sounds fascinating, she said sweetly. Though I read that particular artist has been criticized for derivative work. Still, it's nice your museum took a chance on them. Later, as we helped clear the table, James mentioned you two talked. I'm sorry if my meetings with Kevin for our surprise house hunting made you uncomfortable. I should have been more transparent knowing your history with him. My mother raised an eyebrow. Kevin. Your ex-boyfriend, Kevin. Why would that make you uncomfortable, Vivian? That relationship ended years ago. It didn't, I said tightly. Amanda's meetings with Kevin weren't about house hunting. An uncomfortable silence fell over the kitchen. Amanda looked down the perfect picture of someone trying to be patient with an irrational person. Vivian, my mother said in her warning tone, let's not do this now. After dinner, I stepped onto the patio for fresh air and overheard Amanda on her phone again. She's becoming a problem, she whispered. No, James doesn't believe her, but she's persistent. Yes, tomorrow at the usual time. I need to see you. The next day, I took a personal day from work and followed her again. This time, I brought a small recorder. When she and Kevin met at a coffee shop, I sat nearby, hood-up sunglasses on, and managed to capture their conversation. James has no idea, Kevin asked. None. His sister tried to say something, but I handled it. He thinks she's jealous of the attention. And after the wedding? Nothing changes. He'll be busy with the partnership track. You and I continue as we have been. Kevin laughed. Poor sucker has no idea who he's marrying. I nearly broke the recorder, squeezing it in rage. But now I had proof. Undeniable proof. That evening I went to my parents' house knowing my father would be home alone while my mother attended a charity committee meeting. I found him in his study surrounded by family photos. Predictably, most featured James. Dad, I need to talk to you about something important. He looked up, reading glasses perched on his nose. What is it, Vivian? I'm rather busy with case files. I sat down across from him. It's about Amanda. She's cheating on James. His attention snapped fully to me for perhaps the first time in years. That's a serious accusation. I have proof. I pulled out my phone and the recorder. Photos, recordings, everything. She's been seeing my ex-boyfriend Kevin for months. They're laughing about how James has no idea. I played the recording for him. His face remained impassive, but I could see a muscle twitching in his jaw. When it finished, he took off his glasses and pinched the bridge of his nose. What do you expect me to do with this information? He asked finally. Tell James, help me convince him it's true. He'll listen to you. Dad was quiet for a long moment. Then he said the words that shattered any remaining illusion I had about my place in this family. Whatever drama you're creating, keep it to yourself. Your brother is finally happy. I stared at him in disbelief. Did you not just hear the recording? She's cheating on him. She's planning to continue after they're married. What I heard was a conversation that could be interpreted many ways. Nothing conclusive. Dad, she literally said, Enough, Vivian. He slammed his hand on the desk. James is about to make partner at the firm. This wedding is connecting us with the Phillips family who have significant business interests aligned with ours. Your brother has finally found someone who fits perfectly into our world. So that's it. His happiness doesn't actually matter, just how things look. Of course, his happiness matters, which is why I won't have you disrupting it with these accusations based on your eavesdropping and stalking. I felt physically ill. You'd let him marry someone who's cheating on him, someone who will hurt him. What would hurt him is his sister trying to ruin the biggest moment of his life because she can't stand not being the center of attention for once. The words hit like physical blows. I stood up shaking. You really think that's what this is about? Isn't it always with you? He put his glasses back on, effectively dismissing me. Go home, Vivian. Focus on your own life instead of trying to sabotage your brother's. I left without another word. In the driveway, I ran into my mother returning from her meeting. Vivian, what's wrong? You look upset. For one desperate moment, I considered telling her everything. But the defeated part of me already knew what her response would be. She had always followed Dad's lead when it came to family matters. Nothing, Mom. Just a disagreement with Dad. Oh, you know how he gets when he's busy with cases. She patted my arm. By the way, Amanda found the most beautiful venue for the rehearsal dinner. Wait until you see it. I smiled weakly and left, calling Rachel in tears from my car. They don't care, I sobbed into the phone. Dad basically admitted the connection to Amanda's family is more important than whether she's faithful to James. Oh, Viv, Rachel sighed. I wish I could say I'm surprised. That night, Daniel called me. I saw something today you should know about, he said without preamble. Amanda with a guy at the Meridian Hotel. They weren't discussing business unless business now involves extensive kissing in the lobby. For the first time in days, I felt a flicker of hope. Someone else had seen it. I wasn't crazy. That would be Kevin, I said bitterly. My ex-boyfriend. Jesus, Daniel breathed. Does James know? I tried telling him. And my dad. Neither of them wanted to hear it. What are you going to do? I stared out my apartment window at the city lights. I don't know yet, but I can't let my brother marry her, even if he hates me for it. The weeks leading up to the engagement party were a special kind of torture. Wedding planning consumed all family conversations. Amanda was everywhere playing her role flawlessly, while I withdrew more and more. Vivian seems a bit off lately, I overheard my mother telling Amanda. She's always been sensitive. Poor thing, Amanda replied. Some people just struggle with change, especially when attention shifts away from them. The seed she had planted grew into a full narrative. When I missed a family dinner because of legitimate work obligations, it was interpreted as sulking. When I was quiet during discussions, it was seen as jealousy. Amanda had masterfully positioned herself as the patient, understanding future sister-in-law dealing with my supposed instability. She grew bolder, knowing she had successfully isolated me. At a wedding planning lunch, she casually mentioned seeing a therapist in college. For anxiety, she explained to my mother. It runs in families, you know. I recognize the signs in others now. Paranoia creating conflict, seeing problems that aren't there. My mother nodded thoughtfully, glancing my way. Meanwhile, my professional life was suffering. I had always found solace in my work, but now I couldn't focus. I missed deadlines, snapped at colleagues, and found myself staring blankly at paintings I normally loved. Kevin was no help. When I confronted him outside his office building, he merely smirked. Proving anything will be your word against ours, Vivian. And from what Amanda tells me, your family already thinks you're coming unhinged. Why are you doing this? Why, James? Is it because of our history? He shrugged. Nothing personal. Amanda and I have an understanding. She gets her perfect life with your brother's status and money. I get the benefits without the commitment. Win-win. Except for James, I said through gritted teeth. James gets exactly what he wants, a trophy wife who knows how to play the game. What he doesn't know won't hurt him. I walked away before I could do something I'd regret. The final straw came when Amanda issued an ultimatum. She cornered me at my parents' house before a dinner party. This needs to stop, she said, her friendly mask completely gone. The photos, the recording following me. It's pathetic. Does the truth make you nervous, Amanda? She laughed coldly. What makes me nervous is having a mentally unstable sister-in-law. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to play nice through this engagement party and the wedding. You're going to smile in photos and give a lovely toast. Or you'll be cut off from this family entirely. You can't do that. Can't I? Your parents already think you're jealous and unstable. One more incident and I'll suggest to James that having you at the wedding might be too stressful for everyone. Your parents will agree, of course. They always side with James. She was right, and we both knew it. Think about it, Vivian. Is exposing me worth losing your family completely? Because that's what will happen. They'll choose James's happiness, which means choosing me. The engagement party was set for the following Saturday at an exclusive country club. Everything was perfect, of course. Champagne flowed, beautifully arranged flowers adorned every surface, and a string quartet played softly in the background. Amanda wore a stunning white dress that probably cost more than 3 months of my salary, while James beamed with pride beside her. I stood in the corner nursing a single glass of champagne, watching the scene unfold like some elaborate play where I was the only one who knew the real script. Rachel stood beside me, our own private support system. "You okay?" "Not remotely," I admitted. "But what choice do I have?" Daniel approached, looking uncomfortable in his suit. "Amanda's parents seem nice, at least. I was just talking to them." "What are they like?" I hadn't had a chance to speak with them yet, as they'd flown in just for the party. "Surprisingly normal." Her mom was telling me about Amanda's college years. Apparently she transferred schools suddenly in her junior year. Something about a scandal with a professor. My attention sharpened. "What kind of scandal?" She didn't say exactly, just that it was a difficult time, and they were grateful to the university for handling it quietly. I exchanged looks with Rachel. "That's interesting." "Very," she agreed. "Maybe worth exploring." For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of something other than despair. I made my way over to Amanda's parents, introducing myself warmly. "We're so happy James found someone from such a lovely family," I said, channeling my mother's social skills. "Amanda is quite accomplished. NYU for undergrad, right?" "Actually, she started at Columbia," her mother corrected. "Finished at NYU after, well, a change was needed." "Oh, what prompted the transfer?" Her mother's smile faltered slightly. "Just looking for a different program." "I heard there might have been some issue with a professor," I probed gently. Mr. Phillips cut in smoothly. "Ancient history." Though it taught Amanda an important lesson about perception versus reality. She was unfairly accused of something by a jealous classmate. Fortunately, the truth prevailed. The pieces clicked together in my mind. This wasn't Amanda's first time playing this game. She had a history of manipulating situations, creating narratives that protected her while vilifying others. I excused myself, mind racing. As I crossed the room, I overheard James and Amanda talking to a group of his colleagues. "We're thinking of a spring wedding," Amanda was saying. "Though with James's schedule, we might have to honeymoon later. He's so dedicated to his clients." "The firm comes first," James agreed proudly. "Always." Amanda smiled, though I caught the flash of irritation in her eyes. In that moment, I made my decision. Perhaps it was the champagne giving me courage, or perhaps it was the culmination of years of being silenced and dismissed. But I couldn't let this continue. I walked to the small stage where the string quartet was taking a break. I picked up a microphone, tapping it lightly. The room gradually quieted as attention turned to me. "I'd like to make a toast," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "To my brother James and his fiancée Amanda." My mother looked nervous. My father glared warning daggers at me. James smiled encouragingly, while Amanda's expression was carefully neutral. "James has always been the golden boy of our family. Perfect grades, perfect career, and now seemingly the perfect fiancé." I raised my glass. "But perfection is often an illusion, isn't it, Amanda?" The room went completely silent. "Vivian," my father said warningly. "No, Dad. For once you're going to listen to me." I turned back to the crowd. "Amanda has been cheating on my brother with my ex-boyfriend Kevin Matthews. I have proof, both photographic and recorded." Gasps rippled through the room. James's face drained of color. Amanda's mask finally slipped, fury flashing in her eyes. "She's lying," Amanda said quickly. James, remember what I told you about her jealousy issues? Am I? I pulled out my phone. I have photos of you entering hotels together, recordings of your conversations planning to continue the affair after the wedding, and I suspect this isn't the first time you've manipulated a situation to your advantage. Your parents mentioned Colombia. Amanda's parents exchanged alarmed looks. This is absurd. Amanda tried again, looking around desperately. Clearly, my future sister-in-law is having some kind of episode. Is that what happened at Columbia too? I pressed. You were accused by a jealous classmate after you were caught with someone you shouldn't have been with. Let me guess, you turned it around, made them look unstable, got everyone to take your side. Amanda's face had gone white. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? It's the same playbook you've been using on me. Isolate, undermine, create an alternative narrative where you're the victim and I'm unstable. James was looking between us, confusion and pain warring on his face. Amanda, what is she talking about? Before Amanda could respond, the entrance doors opened. Kevin walked in, stopping short when he saw the scene unfolding. His timing couldn't have been more perfect if I'd planned it. What's going on? He asked, eyes darting to Amanda. Kevin, James said slowly. What are you doing here? Amanda invited me. He looked at her for guidance, but she was frozen. I played the recording I'd made at the coffee shop, Amanda's voice filling the silent room. James has no idea. His sister tried to say something, but I handled it. He thinks she's jealous of the attention. Then Kevin's voice. Poor sucker has no idea who he's marrying. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Amanda lunged for my phone, but Daniel stepped between us. It's true, Daniel announced. I saw them together at the Meridian Hotel last week. James stood absolutely still, his face a mask of shock and betrayal. Then he turned to Amanda. Is this true? For a moment, Amanda looked like she might continue denying everything. Then her expression changed, calculation replacing panic. You're always at work, she said coolly. Always focused on making partner impressing your father. Kevin makes time for me. In our family home behind my back with my sister's ex. James's voice cracked with emotion. Your perfect family, Amanda spat. Your sister's right about one thing, James. You are the golden boy. Everything revolves around you. It gets tiresome. James turned away from her, devastated. My parents stood frozen faces, pale with shock and embarrassment, as their carefully constructed social event imploded. James, my father started. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. No, Dad, James cut him off. No more hiding uncomfortable truths to keep up appearances. He walked out, shoulders slumped. Amanda glared at me with pure hatred before storming out in the opposite direction, Kevin trailing awkwardly behind her. The guests began dispersing quickly, murmuring among themselves. My parents looked shell-shocked, my mother near tears. Are you satisfied now? My father demanded when we were almost alone. You've humiliated this family in front of everyone who matters. I saved your son from marrying a cheater, I replied evenly. That should matter more than your social standing. You could have handled this privately. I tried. None of you would listen. Because we know how you get Vivian, my mother interjected. Always competing with James, always needing attention. The familiar accusation no longer had the power to wound me. This was never about me. It was about protecting someone I love from being hurt worse later. But I understand now that for both of you, appearances will always matter more than truth or even James's genuine happiness. I walked out, leaving them with the ruins of their perfect engagement party. As painful as it had been, the truth was finally out. Whatever happened next, at least it would be based on reality rather than carefully maintained illusions. The day after the engagement party, I woke to 37 missed calls and over 50 text messages. Most were from my mother, alternating between fury and plaintive appeals to help fix this situation. None were from James. I drove to my parents' house, steeling myself for the confrontation ahead. The pristine home looked just as immaculate as always, betraying no hint of the emotional devastation inside. My mother answered the door, her eyes red-rimmed, but her hair and makeup perfect armor against the chaos. Oh, thank God you're here. Your father's with James trying to talk some sense into him. Sense? I repeated, following her inside. What kind of sense? This public spectacle needs to be contained. James is not thinking clearly. She busied herself making tea, hands slightly trembling. Amanda called this morning. She's willing to work through this if we can all agree to put it behind us. I stared at her in disbelief. Are you serious? After what she did? Many marriages overcome infidelity, Vivian. It's hardly unprecedented. This wasn't a one-time mistake, Mom. She was systematically cheating on him while planning their wedding. She intended to continue after they were married. She admitted it. People say things in the heat of the moment. She waved dismissively. The point is, this can still be salvaged if you'll stop fanning the flames. Does James want to salvage it? She avoided my eyes. Your brother is emotional right now. He needs guidance. He needs support for whatever decision he makes, I corrected, not pressure to continue a relationship with someone who betrayed him. You've done quite enough, she snapped. The Phillips family is mortified. Do you have any idea of the connections we'll lose, the social standing? Is that really all you care about? Not that your son was being deceived? Before she could answer, the front door opened. My father walked in looking exhausted, James following behind him. My brother looked like he hadn't slept, his usually perfect appearance disheveled. Vivian. He acknowledged me without emotion. James, I said softly. I'm so sorry. Are you? My father interrupted. Because from where I stand, you deliberately chose the most humiliating possible way to handle this situation. After you refused to listen when I came to you privately, I reminded him. What was I supposed to do? Not turn a private family matter into a public spectacle, he shouted. Stop it, James said quietly. Just stop. We all fell silent, unaccustomed to James taking this tone. Dad spent the morning trying to convince me to reconcile with Amanda, he told me, his voice hollow. For the sake of family connections and my career prospects, as if I could ever trust her again. My mother stepped forward. James, darling, all relationships face challenges. She was sleeping with Kevin while planning our wedding, Mom. He cut her off. While smiling in your face and picking out china patterns. That's not a challenge. That's a fundamental betrayal of everything our relationship was supposed to stand for. People make mistakes, my father insisted. The question is whether this one mistake outweighs everything else. One mistake, James laughed bitterly. Did you even listen to that recording? She and Kevin were laughing about me, planning to continue after we were married. She called me a sucker. Heat of the moment. Mom echoed her earlier sentiment to me. Why are you defending her? I asked. She betrayed your son. Because they've invested too much in the narrative, James said, surprising me. The perfect son marrying the perfect woman from the perfect family. They can't let that image shatter even if the reality underneath is rotten. My parents looked stricken. It was perhaps the first time James had ever openly criticized them. That's unfair, James, my father said stiffly. We only want what's best for you. What's best for me or what looks best for the family, James challenged. Because those aren't the same thing. An uncomfortable silence fell. Finally, I spoke. I didn't want to hurt you, James. I tried to tell you privately. I tried to tell Dad. No one would listen. Because your history made your motives suspect, my father retorted. My history, I repeated. Your jealousy of James, my mother clarified, as if stating the obvious. Your constant need to compete with him to undermine his happiness. Years of resentment bubbled to the surface. Is that really how you see me? Your own daughter? As some jealous attention-seeking problem child? That's not what we meant, my mother backpedaled. It's exactly what you meant, James interrupted. And it's what you've always thought. I've watched it my entire life how differently you treat us. How you dismiss Vivian's accomplishments while celebrating my every minor achievement. Our parents looked genuinely shocked. This narrative reversal, James defending me instead of the other way around, was unprecedented. That's absurd, my father sputtered. We've always been supportive of both of you. Really? I challenged. Name 3 of my professional accomplishments from the last year. Just 3. They stared at me blankly. I curated the Modern Impressionist exhibit that was featured in Art Monthly. I secured the Hiroshi collection for our fall showcase. I was invited to speak at the International Art Restoration Conference in London. I took a deep breath. But you wouldn't know any of that because you've never asked, never shown interest, because it wasn't James doing it. We've been busy, my mother said weakly. Too busy to know anything about my life, but not too busy to help Amanda pick out wedding invitations or attend every one of James's court victories, no matter how minor. My father's face hardened. This emotional display is exactly why. Why what, Dad? James interrupted. Why you don't take Vivian seriously, why you automatically assumed she was lying about Amanda. We didn't assume. Yes, you did, I said quietly. Dad, when I showed you the recording, you literally said, whatever drama you're creating, keep it to yourself. Your brother is finally happy. You didn't care about the truth. You just wanted me to be quiet and not disrupt the perfect family image. My mother looked at my father in surprise. Michael, did you really say that? My father avoided her gaze. I thought she was overreacting. Based on what evidence? James demanded. You didn't even investigate. You just dismissed her like you always do. My parents had no response to that. The truth hung in the room too stark to deny any longer. I'm leaving, James announced suddenly. I need space from all of this. From Amanda, from the firm, from... He gestured vaguely, encompassing our parents and the house. All of this. But your partnership track, my father started. Will still be there if I want it when I get back, James finished. He turned to me. Thank you for caring enough to tell me the truth even when no one would listen. I'm sorry I didn't believe you sooner. He hugged me briefly, then walked out, leaving our parents stunned in his wake. I looked at them, these two people who had shaped my life yet never truly seen me. I'm leaving too. Vivian, please, my mother began. No, Mom. For once, listen to me. This family is broken and has been for a long time. Not because I created drama, but because you and Dad created a dynamic where James was the sun and I was just some distant planet. You taught him that he was special and deserving, and taught me that I would always come second. The sad thing is, James never wanted that role. He never asked to be the golden child. You put that on him and made both of us suffer for it in different ways. That's not true, my father protested, but without conviction. It is true, and until you can acknowledge that, nothing will change. I picked up my purse. I love you both, but I can't keep participating in a family system that requires me to make myself smaller so James can shine brighter. I walked out feeling lighter than I had in years. In my car, I found a text from Rachel. How bad is it? Actually better than expected, I replied. James finally sees the truth. About everything. Later that day, I received messages from various family members and mutual friends. Some expressed shock about Amanda. Others awkwardly avoided mentioning the engagement party disaster while checking if I was okay. A few family members I'd never been particularly close with reached out with surprising support. Always thought there was something off about that girl, my great-aunt Meredith wrote. Good for you for speaking up. Takes courage. Daniel called to check on me. That was quite a scene yesterday. You okay? Getting there, I told him. It's strange. I feel terrible for James, but also relieved that everything is finally out in the open. Not just about Amanda, he observed astutely. No, about everything. In the days that followed, I threw myself into work, finding solace in the structured environment where my expertise was valued and recognized. My boss noticed the change immediately. Whatever was bothering you seems to have resolved itself, she commented. Your proposal for the spring exhibition is exactly what we need. Amanda attempted damage control through mutual friends, painting herself as misunderstood and me as unstable. Few seemed to believe her, especially after Kevin, feeling guilty, confirmed their affair to several people. My parents made awkward overtures, inviting me to dinner, sending texts checking in. I responded politely, but maintained distance, needing time to process everything. A week after the engagement party, James called me. I'm in town briefly packing up some things. Can we meet? We chose a neutral location, a small park near my apartment. James looked different somehow. The perfect facade cracked to reveal something more authentic underneath. I'm leaving for a while, he told me. Taking a sabbatical from the firm. going to travel, maybe do some pro bono work abroad. Dad must be thrilled about that, I said wryly. Dad will survive. He smiled faintly. I've spent my whole life trying to be who they wanted me to be. I'm not sure I know who I actually am without that blueprint. I know that feeling. He looked at me directly. I owe you an apology, Viv. Not just for not believing you about Amanda, but for everything. For not seeing what was happening all these years. For benefiting from a system that constantly pushed you aside to make room for me. You didn't create the dynamic, I said softly. No, but I didn't challenge it either. I accepted the spotlight and the praise, even when I could see how it hurt you. That makes me complicit. We sat in silence for a moment, years of unspoken truths finally acknowledged. For what it's worth, he continued, I've always admired you. Your talent, your independence, your willingness to forge your own path instead of following someone else's plan. The words meant more than he could know. Thank you for saying that. I mean it. And I'm grateful you cared enough to tell me the truth about Amanda, even when it was hard, even when no one believed you. You're my brother, I said simply. Despite everything, I love you. I love you too, Viv. I hope when I come back we can build something better. A real relationship not defined by Mom and Dad's expectations. I'd like that. We hugged goodbye, and I watched him walk away carrying less weight on his shoulders than I'd ever seen. 3 months later, my life looked dramatically different. I'd moved to a new apartment, one that truly reflected my taste rather than what I thought a serious curator should live in. I'd taken more creative risks at work, proposing exhibitions that excited me rather than those I thought would earn parental approval I'd never receive anyway. I began therapy, unpacking decades of family dynamics and learning to recognize my own worth independent of external validation. I established firmer boundaries with my parents, who were making halting, imperfect attempts to understand where they'd gone wrong. We never meant to make you feel less important, my mother said during one difficult conversation. I know you didn't mean to, I acknowledged. But intent doesn't erase impact. And the impact was that I grew up believing I would never be good enough, while James grew up with the pressure of having to be perfect. My father, always less comfortable with emotional discussions, made his own awkward efforts. Your recent exhibition, the one about fragmented perspectives, it was quite remarkable. Very insightful. It wasn't much, but from him it was practically effusive praise. James sent postcards from his travels, each one more reflective than the last. Working with refugees in Greece. Their resilience puts my problems in perspective. Thinking of you. Hope you're painting again. I had started painting again, something I'd abandoned years ago when my parents dismissed it as a hobby rather than a serious pursuit. The freedom to create without judgment was exhilarating. One afternoon, I literally ran into Amanda at a coffee shop. She was with another man, both of them laughing intimately. She faltered when she saw me, momentarily thrown off balance. Vivian, she acknowledged stiffly. Amanda, I replied, keeping my voice neutral. She seemed about to walk past, then stopped. I suppose you think you won. This wasn't a competition, I told her. It was about truth. She laughed bitterly. Truth is subjective. You told your version. No, I played a recording of your actual words. That's about as objective as it gets. Her companion looked uncomfortable, glancing between us. Amanda, who is this? No one important, she dismissed. Then to me, enjoy your moral victory. Some of us prefer actual success. As she walked away with her new target, I felt nothing but pity. Amanda would continue her pattern, moving from one relationship to another, never finding satisfaction, because she was always calculating her next move rather than being present. The final piece of closure came when Kevin reached out asking to meet. Against my better judgment, I agreed to coffee. I wanted to apologize, he said, looking genuinely remorseful. What Amanda and I did was wrong. I got caught up in the excitement, the forbidden aspect, but I never considered the real damage we were causing. Why me? I asked the question that had haunted me. Was it revenge for our breakup? He shook his head. It wasn't about you at all. Amanda and I met at a charity event 6 months after you and I broke up. We just connected. When she started dating James later, we should have ended things, but neither of us wanted to. It was selfish. Yes, it was. For what it's worth, you're better off without me. You always deserved someone who appreciated you fully. I never did. I nodded, feeling the last piece of a puzzle fall into place. Thank you for your honesty. Finally. Walking away, I realized how much lighter I felt. The burden of secrets of trying to be heard in a family determined not to listen had been lifted. In its place was something new, a sense of self defined not by comparison to James or by parental approval, but by my own values and choices. The truth had cost me the illusion of a perfect family, but in return, I gained something far more valuable: authenticity. My relationship with James was slowly rebuilding on more equal ground. My parents were making stumbling attempts to see me clearly for perhaps the first time. And I was learning to trust my own voice, to know that what I had to say mattered whether others chose to listen or not. Standing up for truth is rarely easy and often comes at a high price. But living with lies exacts an even higher toll, one paid in small pieces of your soul over time. I chose truth, painful as it was, and though the journey was difficult, I wouldn't change my decision. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is to tell them the truth they don't want to hear. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to stand in your truth even when no one else will stand with you. In the end, that's what family should really be about, not performances or expectations, but love, honest enough to withstand reality. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have told your brother the painful truth, or kept silent to maintain family peace? Let me know in the comments, and if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need to hear that standing in your truth is worth it, even when it's hard. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, sometimes the most broken family relationships can heal, but only when built on honesty instead of illusions.